Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners to yet another episode. And today we're going to talk about two special numbers, namely the 13-4 and the 15-6, and 5 things that you should really know if either you or your child or someone close to you has both of these in their core numbers, and particularly in the sacred triad. But if you're new here, then welcome. In my podcast, we discuss numerology as a path for inner transformation, spiritual growth, and self-understanding. I personally attempt to make numerology accessible and applicable for everyday life matters, and do my best to provide you with grounded information so that you can apply numerology in your daily life to live a more conscious, more harmonious life, a life that is aligned with your soul and your true purpose. Now, I'm really happy to announce that I will be giving 10 generously discounted soul destiny and karma readings to 10 lucky listeners. But more about that in the end of the episode. So stay posted. Stay tuned. Now, here are a few ways you can dive deeper into numerology, should you wish to do so. First and foremost, of course, you can book a numerology reading with me. And in a reading, you can ask questions that are really burning in your life and see how numerology works for you. You can read more about my readings and contact me through the link in the episode description. If you wish to study numerology on a deeper level or even pursue it as a career, then check out my 2 numerology study paths. The first one is my self-study numerology courses that give you the rare opportunity to learn numerology online at your own pace, on your laptop, on your mobile device, or your tablet. My library currently includes 2 self-study courses, and more are coming up. Now, if you want to be initiated into the rare depths of numerology, you can sign up to my complete path of certification, where you study directly with me, one-on-one, all the way from a total beginner, if that's where you're at, to a numerology expert, and you get certified as a professional numerologist. Now, to read more about both study paths, check out the links in the episode description. So today, I want to speak about this specific combination of numbers that I mentioned earlier, and I want to bring deeper into your attention, namely the 13-4 and 15-6. Now, as you can see, I'm placing an emphasis on the double digit, making up the 4 and the 6 in this episode. Normally, a 4 and a 6 make up for a very harmonious combination, very stable, reliable, grounded, law-abiding, etc. In the case of 13-4 and 15-6, there's a bit of a twist in the plot. It's not that the good qualities aren't there, but there's far more turbulence that we will cover and talk about throughout this episode to help you, your child, or a good friend that you know who embodies these numbers, inhabits them, to have a better, more harmonious life. Now, 13-4, as many of you already know, is a karmic debt number. And if you don't know what a karmic debt number is, then make sure to listen to my episode about karmic debts. Now, 15-6 is interesting. Normally, it is considered to be just another form of 6, like 24-6, like 42-6, right? But in some numerological schools and traditions, it is considered as a karmic debt. Now, on close observation, even if we don't really follow one of those particular schools, one can indeed see that the 15-6 is more restless than other types of sixes. Perhaps because the 1 and 5 that make it up are both numbers in disharmony with 6. So, in a way, when you have these two numbers together, right, 13-4 and 15-6, it's as if you're having two karmic debts with a very particular theme. So let's dive deeper. The 4-6 personality is one that needs structure and solid ground beneath its feet, a life with clear rules, routines, and boundaries. And while this is indeed healthy for them, this very tendency can give rise to much anger. This is especially true with 13-4 and 15-6 coming together. Anger arises frequently for them, sometimes way too often, and can easily squander many a precious thing in their life, in their interactions. They want things to go in a certain way and are quick to be angered if they don't, even insulted, I would say. The 13 and 15, more than any other 4 and 6, have lots of pent up anger sort of smoldering um, under the surface. But in their case, it can also frequently erupt like a lava, bursting from a volcano to simply burst out. It really has destructive power, and they should especially watch out from, ruining precious connections and relationships. It can also be anger towards themselves that makes them hurt themselves, punish themselves, and deem themselves very guilty. And as we know, guilt is not really a great ally, to say the least. It can be very self destructive. Now, another reason that anger tends to linger with 13-4 and 15-6 is that they're usually really sure that they are right. They are very, very convinced that they know how things should be and find it hard to let go and accept an unwanted reality. Especially, by the way, if it's a curveball, something unpredictable, something unexpected, something they hadn't planned for. They take it very personal, by the way, if things turn out in a way they didn't expect and get offended and insulted very easily. And I sort of started by tying it to their tendency to clear rules, routine, and boundaries because they have fixations, you see. This is a tendency for fixation, and it can be healthy and also necessary for them. But it boundaries and fixation points turn when they turn sideways or south, become this sort of attitude of things should be like this. If they don't happen this way, I'm exploding. And that's what I'm sort of pointing to. Um, Now, as a personality that needs clear boundaries, routines, and also rules, the 13-4 and 15-6 personality might have somewhat um, obsessive, I would say, need for control and order. Again, remember that all the natural shadows of 4 and 6, regardless of what's a double digit, making up the single digit, the natural shadow of these numbers are more extreme um, in this case, right? So, I mean, um, all 4s and 6s are going to have these shadows I'm mentioning, but when it's a 13-4 and a 15-6, they are all going to be more extreme. Things have to happen exactly as they envisioned them. This can include physical things like, placing things in a particular order, or also mental things like You have to speak in a certain way or say the correct words or the correct grammar and so on. They can easily get mad if they feel that they have no control over a situation. And when control is as extreme in your personality, then losses of control is simply always going to be the other half. It's just the way the physics, right, of the inner universe, one can say. Now we'll get to that soon. Now, if a non-karmic 4/6 can be disappointed when things don't pan out the way they had imagined, the 13/4/15/6 personality may be furious, enraged even. It's not always easy to calm them down, and it's hard for them to keep their own anger in check. It tends to really ooze out, which is again simply a symptom of loss of control. So we can see here this fascinating dance with the topic of control that naturally includes also the flip side, which is no control or losing control. Now, on the same line of thought, the next symptom you'll find in yourself or your kids, all right? If you have if you're inhabiting the 13/4/15/6 chart, is having a very short fuse. So, for example, your 7-year-old child with these numbers might be losing their temper far too often, and because of really minor things. Loss of temper is, another expression of anger combined with control gone sideways. Now, sometimes it seems like they're always angry. With adults, even though it's visible, it might be slightly more under control. But with kids, and I think that's partly difficult, but also what's beautiful, you will sometimes experience the loss of temper very unfiltered. They can easily throw a tantrum, start yelling, resisting what you say, hitting you, um, you know, or their siblings. So it's a kind of frustration that they do not know how to manage. And this is true for adults as well. Um, they tend to build up a lot of frustration, and this should ideally be treated in good therapy, consistent therapy. Now, the good news is that it can definitely be resolved and definitely mitigated significantly. I'm not the kind of person who speaks about perfect results because I don't believe them. I've never seen them, but I definitely believe in good results. Now, in fact, I'm only describing these symptoms in this episode so that you can become aware of them in yourself or your kids or your loved ones and simply help yourself or them, or your kids out of it. Because it can be a tough one to live with. So, the next thing I want to talk about is this force of destruction. But before I move into that, if you are enjoying this podcast episode and you want to keep learning more grounded and in-depth numerology, then make sure to click the follow or subscribe button on the platform you're listening from and make sure to turn on the notifications bell and become part of my numerology community. And please support this work. It means a lot to me. And also make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write in-depth content about numerology and Dharma. Again, the links are in the podcast episode description. Make sure to check out the comment section. Leave a comment, be a part of these conversations. And I always try to answer you guys. And of course, I did not forget, I will talk about the 10 generously discounted readings, but more about that towards the end. So stay with me. So if we take a closer look at loss of control as a symptom of trying to control something that you can't, we will realize that it is a form of destructive power. And indeed, when really frustrated, the 13/4 and 15/6 personalities can be very destructive. They can suddenly take an object and simply break it to pieces, be it a chair, a table, a plate, just right, especially again with kids, you can see that. But not only, or abruptly destroy a conversation by lashing out in hurtful ways towards others. Now, because they find it very hard to give up and accept defeat, again, quote unquote, defeat, because again, defeat would mean that reality was right and not them, then their last resort is to ruin, to destroy. You see, it's like the last sort of form of power and control that I can exert when reality has said it's, you know, has said the final word. And I don't like it. So, as kids, for example, they can start yelling, screaming, disobeying, running away, hitting, kicking, stomping, you know what I mean? Resisting you, pulling, whatever. Force of destruction. And the interesting thing is, meeting control with control won't help. And this I'm saying to the parents amongst you. If you try to face this behavior with severity and strictness, they might lose their temper even more and become even more destructive. One needs to find a different way, and I will get to that soon. I'm not going to leave you hanging there only with the shadows today. But as an adult, it's really crucial that you become aware of the way your energies turn into a force of destruction, both verbally, behaviorally, and physically. Acknowledgement is always the first step in finding deeper peace. Now, if you've listened to my episode about the karmic debt 13.4, you're probably recognizing a lot of what I'm describing here. Like it sounds familiar, probably, and it begs the question, well, what is 15.6 contributing here? Well, 15.6 is actually also very erratic in its shadow, stores a lot of burning anger, and is really prone to explosions, eruptions, emotional meltdowns, um, a lot of sort of insult, guilt. So both have a destructive force that is often unleashed when angry or frustrated. And so together, it's like a double whammy. Okay, the whole effect is doubled here. Mm, The next, I would say, challenging topic that 13.4.15.6 personality encounters is that of simply accepting an unwanted reality. It's experienced as a sort of insult when things don't go their way. It's taken personally, and they fight back. Now, one way of fighting back is what I described earlier: throwing a tantrum, becoming destructive, violent, lashing out with anger, sometimes verbal violence, sometimes physical. This will be, again, very visible with kids. And it's important to help them cope and digest these energies properly as much as we can. That's in many ways the reason I'm recording this episode, as I said earlier, to bring awareness to this and to sort of also help you, bring your attention to that and create a space for resolution. Now, because of their unprocessed anger, they tend to be destructive and negative about any sort of what is perceived as a block in their path, in their way. And it's important that they learn that blocks are friends, not enemies. Okay, so I've communicated the main shadows I wanted of the 13.4.15.6 personality. And I think now it's a good time to speak about how to resolve these issues and find peace and harmony. Now, what I'm about to say is true for adults as well as kids. Only the implementations should be adjusted to different ages, different techniques, possibly. So, first thing to consider is that the 13, 4, 15, 6 personality needs constructive reframing in the mind. This means that the major areas in life where it perceives resistance, one should learn, perhaps with the aid of a good therapist, to reframe the way they see a situation in a constructive way. I call it constructive framing. So, constructive framing gives them the feeling of security and clear boundaries that they are able to follow and feel in a sort of balanced control towards a particular situation that might have otherwise felt to them as if control is completely robbed away from them, which naturally aggravates the reaction of anger. In terms of resistance to life, the lesson here is to learn to see how when things don't work their way, it's because reality is actually planning something even better. Again, we see here a form of constructive reframing. You see, it's sort of it has to make sense to their logic as eventually the 4 6, whichever double digit constructs the 4 6 doesn't matter. In general, 4 and 6 are down to earth beings. So there was another thing I wanted to say about that. So I was saying, yeah, the thing is, uh, 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 um, yeah, constructive reframing is just really, really important. Like in this, what I meant by saying that reality has something better in store. The reason I'm saying this for them is because oftentimes it's their default is to sort of gravitate towards negativity, pessimism, or something very. They get stuck on things and get insulted, like life did it to me or whatever. And that's why it's really important to help them see that reality, again, both for adults and kids, reality is like smarter and it's actually working for you. And when you reframe that in the mind, then you realize, hey, I'm not actually what I perceive as a block is not actually a block. And this is what really frees them. You see? That's what I was like trying to get to. Um, so, in the long run, and perhaps even as a practice for life, they should practice expressing their emotions through speech, through writing, or even through movement. Storing and suppressing in general is the malady, and regular expression helps with digestion and flow in the long run. This way, things won't and simply don't accumulate. And last but not least is to have clear rules and boundaries. But rules should have consequences. It's important to be fair towards yourself and towards life. That's an important lesson for the 13, 4, 15, 6 personality. You can see it like, or they can see it, or this is what should be cultivated, seeing it as good sportsmanship. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Sometimes you get the trophy, and sometimes you hand it over to the other team. But winning and losing with dignity, and not only remaining dignified when you win, is all about fairness. Remember that word because they love fairness. You see, the language of fairness speaks to them, and this is why it's so important that you sort of work with this kind of reframing in the mind. It's very important. These, what I just said, in many ways are the practices for the 13, 4, 15, 6 personality. And these are really practices for life. It's not something you do for 3 weeks or 3 months. It's really something you just make into a habit for life. So now that you know both the shadow and its solution for 13.4 and 15.6 personalities, I really recommend looking at yourself and examining how much of what I've described is active within you or your child or the people you love, a person you love, a friend, and how much of the solutions I've described are actively um, enacted in either your life or the other person's life. Now, if you have a child with this number combo, make sure to support them and build the right frameworks for them, as this will really pay off greatly later on. Um, Remember that, and again, no, I want to say that I fully, acknowledge that it's not such a clean reality. Especially when raising a child, I get it. Sometimes you do have to be severe, and that's completely valid. It's only that I'm saying in the long haul, try to build like a reframing in the mind that doesn't create resistance. That's more healthy. And I hope this simply gives you more food for thought and reflection regarding numerology. Now, as I promised, my friends, I will be giving 10 discounted Soul Destiny and Karma readings to 10 lucky listeners who will register first. So first come, first get. Now, all you need to do to get your discounted reading with me is to write me an email. And in the email, make sure to write the following: me with capital letters, M-E, that's all. And add your full name. So again, make sure if you want to get a discounted reading, make sure to send me an email where you write me, capital letters, and add your full name. The first 10 people to schedule and purchase the reading will be those who receive the readings. The discount is a generous 20% off. My email, for those who don't know, is Tom Eckert Berlin, one word, at gmail.com. So Tom, Tom, Eckert, Eckert, Berlin, Berlin, at gmail.com. I'm looking forward to getting these emails from you. And before we wrap this up, if you have enjoyed this episode and you want to keep supporting this work and learning in-depth numerology, remember to follow and subscribe and turn on the notifications bell on any platform you're listening from, and make sure to become part of this community, support this work. Make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write in-depth content about numerology and Dharma. The link is in the podcast episode description. Remember to comment. It's always fun to have a conversation, a dialogue. I love interacting with you guys. Don't forget to check out my professional numerology readings, especially now when they're discounted. A great way to get to know numerology and its workings. And of course, if you want to study numerology, check out my self-study numerology courses or my in-depth numerology certification studies if you want to acquire deeper mastery of numerology. My friends, it has been a pleasure as always. I wish you well wherever you are. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.